Assalamu alaikum. The village of the Lodi was a kilt of green and brown, stitched together by the white egg. Muddy paths that led to the fields and houses. Its heart beat to the rhythm of the seasons. The monsoon rains, a familiar, sometimes heavy presence. But in the August of 2025, the monsoon was different. It carried not a blessing, but a promise of reassure. The morning ahead began with an unnatural stillness, the air usually alive with the lowing of the cattle and the cheerful chatter of children was thick and heavy, like a woolen blanket in summer. The distant hills of Gaduna Wazai, normally a clear, jagged line against the sky, were smudged with a bruised purple haze that grew with each passing hour. Omar, the eldest son, was already on his way. He drove his rickety old Datsun pickup out of the village, the tires crunching over the gravel road. Unlike his father, he had a job in the city, his hands accustomed to the smooth plastic of a pen rather than the rough earth of a field. Still, every morning, he would exchange a warm nod with his father, a silent acknowledgement of the two worlds they inhabited. His father, Abu Bakr, was already a Silhouette in the field. Inspecting the wheat, he would always say, "The earth tells you what it needs if you just listen." Back at their home, Omar's wife, Farida, moved with a practiced grace. Her hands, caressed from a lifetime of labor, kneaded the dough for the day's bread. But the rhythmic slap, slap, slap was a comforting sound, a constant in their lives. The children, a boy and a girl, chattered excitedly as they prepared for school. The boy, Ali, a mirror of his father's bright-eyed curiosity, complained that his craft school uniform was too tight. The girl Lena was a quiet and observant child who watched the darkening sky with a small furrow in her brow. As the family ate their bread, the first drops of rain began to fall. They were not the gentle, welcoming drops of a summer shower, but fat, heavy bullets that spattered on the tin roof with a sound like 100 stones thrown at once. Abu Bakr came running inside, a grin on his face. "A good rain," he called, his voice full of the promise of a blessed harvest. But the grin was short-lived. The drops turned into a deluge, a solid sheet of water that obscured the world outside. The roar on the roof became a deafening thunder, and the windows rattled in their frames. Then came the second sound, a deep rolling rumble from the heart of the mountain, a sound that made the ground tremble. It was the sound of the mountain itself giving up a mountainous groan of protest. Farida's face went pale. "What is that?" she whispered, clutching the children. But before anyone could answer, the wall of water arrived. It was a terrifying wave of mud, rocks, and uprooted trees that burst from the mountain's flank and devoured the village in an instant. The roar was deafening. The mud broke home, a sanctuary for generations, dissolved like sugar in a hot tea. A moment of weightlessness, the frantic screams of the family and the terrifying cold rush of the water followed. They were separated, tossed about like driftwood in a storm. When the silence returned, it was heavier and colder than the rain, clinging to half-buried piece of timber, gasping of air. The person looked at the morning sun, now high in the sky, which shone on a scene of total annihilation. The village was gone. Where there had been homes and fields, there was only a vast, flat expanse of modern wreckage. A few broken structures stood like tombstones against the sky. The familiar landscape was erased, a victim of the earth's sudden and brutal fury. For days, the person clawed through the rubble, with bare hands, searching for any sign of family or neighbors. The air was thick with the stench of decay and loss. The hand of a neighbor was seen sticking out of the mud, a chilling sight that will forever haunt the person. The father's plow was seen, twisted and broken, but nothing else. Omar arrived a day later, his face contorted and disbelief as he stared at the place where the home had stood. He wasn't the only one. Hundreds came, relatives from other villages and city dwellers like him, to look for what they had lost. Today, there is still just mud where the Lodi used to be. The sun rises and sets, and the Gaduna Mazai Hill stand as silent witnesses. The family is gone, the animals are gone, the memory of the village is a ghost in the landscape, a painful wound on the earth, sitting where the front door once was. The person remembers the ordinary beautiful sounds of a life that ended in an instant, or remembered the feel of the cool earth and the warmth of the sun on a day that began just like any other. The lost dawn of the Lori is remembered. The remembering, however, was not a passive act. It was an act, painful and persistent process of rebuilding, not rebuilding the village that was gone forever, but rebuilding the self, the community, the spirit. The survivors gathered in makeshift shelters on a higher, safer ridge, overlooking the scar where their village once lay. They were not a village anymore, but a band of refugees bound by a shared, unspeakable loss. They mourned, but they also worked. The government and NGOs brought aid, but the truest rebuilding came from their own hands. They salvaged what they could: a half-burned photograph, a chipped teapot, a child's tie. Each object, no matter how small, was a talisman against despair. They shared food and water, but more importantly, they shared stories. They spoke of the last moments of their loved ones, not to relieve the pain, but to honor their memory. Omar, once the city dweller, found his office lie meaningless now. His hands, once soft, were now calloused like his father's. He helped organize the aid, his city learned skills put to an entirely different use. The father, Abu Bakr, no longer spoke of the earth, telling him what it needed. His face, once full of farmers' knowing wisdom, now held a deep, quiet sadness. But he taught the younger generation how to tell the earth on the new land they had been given, higher up the hill, where the ground was safe. He taught them to listen to the new earth, the earth that had not yet betrayed them. Farida too had changed. The sound of her hands kneading dough was gone, replaced by a new, more somber rhythm. She organized the women, weaving mats, cooking for the communal meals, and caring for the few orphaned children. But in the quiet evenings, as the sun set over the scarred landscape, she would hold Lena's muddy doll and tell her stories, stories of their village before of a golden time, when the air was alive with sound and the earth was a friend. Lena, no longer just a quiet child, was a storyteller herself, listening intently, her eyes reflecting the setting sun, which now seemed to carry a different fate, a new kind of memory. The sun still rises and sets over the Gaduna Mazai hills, but for the survivors of the Lodi, it is a different sun, and a sun that no longer casts a golden glow on their homes, but a stark, uncompromising light on the future they must build from scratch. They are a community of ghosts hunting their own lives, their own memories, but they are also a community of rebirth, forging new traditions from the ashes of the old. Their stories now carrying a new chapter, not the last dawn, but the slow, painful, and beautiful rising of a new one. May Allah bless all. Thank you for listening this video, and I would request you that kindly help us and support us and like and share this video, and to support me, that is subscribe my channel. I shall be very thankful to you. Thank you very much for your listening, and thank you very much for taking time to listen to watching this video. Thank you. We will meet again, inshallah.